in listening to a number of different soundtracks, knowing that I was going to be talking to you, there are some that individual pieces stand out and have kind of an emotional effect. And there are others, particularly Inception, that as a body of work completely hang together beginning to end.
But that's the thing, it's supposed to be like a long-form journey, and I mean, Thelma and Louise is exactly the opposite, because I mean, the structure of the movie is that it's interspersed with songs, so you have to do these bridges from one song to the other, which is a very different form from A Dark Knight on Inception, or even I mean, Gladiator is the most undisciplined thing I've ever written. I mean, I could never decide on a main theme. So there a minimum of 19 like chunky themes in there.
Drive you crazy if you don't have kind of that central point to spin around?
It all drives me. Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I will say yes. And then if you say, if you have that central point to spin around, does that drive you crazy? Yes, it drives me crazy too, because you're going to come to the scene where, you just can't figure out how to make that.
Right. So it really does point to every, and this may be stating the incredibly obvious, but every project is different. You cannot come in with preconceived notions about.
No, you can't. And every project is a blank page which is staring at you, and the things you've learned and the things you've done are in your subconscious. You can't sort of conjure them up and go, wow, I know how to do this scene. Yeah. You somehow don't know how to do the scene, because if you know how to do that scene, all you're doing is repeating yourself. And you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. Is there an element of fear in that? When you're staring at that blank page?
Totally.
Even though you've done however many of these movies and quite successfully.
But I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where notes come from. Where does the music come from?
I actually read a quote from.
Oh, I thought you had the answer.
No, I don't.
I was hoping. I'm always interested in the audience being a participant. Right. I mean, when I write music, I very often try to. I force myself not to cross every T and dot every I, because I want to leave some room for the audience to somehow complete and truly be a participant.
Sure. Could you ever, a lot of, there are any number of rock and pop artists now who have taken pieces of their music and put them up and put the stems up and said to their fans in the audience, you complete this, give me your ideas, and I'll come back and do something with what you suggest. Is that something you could ever see in the film medium?
When the DVD of Inception comes out, which will be quite soon, we've built a little iPhone application, just because we could, which scores your dreams. So it's without getting into the huge technicalities of it. But it reacts to your environment, it reacts to you, it reacts to your pace, and it plays with things. So it does an individual piece of music for you out of the Inception stuff. So you're back to that shared dreaming experience.
Yeah. I love this.
And of course you can record it and you can send it, to your friend going, hey, listen, I had this, wow, this great moment.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, the little prototype, anybody who tries it out, let me see how to phrase this. I don't think I played it to Pharrell Williams, who's a friend, and Pharrell's playing with the thing, and he comes back and he goes, "It's legal drugs without side effects. It's fantastic." I mean, it literally changes. It changes the way you think of your environment. And because here I have this piece of technology that really is a clock. So it'll be different in the morning than it'll be at night. It knows where you are. There's a track on the Inception album called Mombasa, and I'm just terrible, but you can only hear that track on that application if you're in Mombasa. So two people will hear it. But it's just a game. I love the game.
That's great.
But the idea of you know, a piece of music can become your piece of music, you know, and who you know, in a funny way, you can be in my band, or you can be, you know, there's a connection, or there's a community, or there's a way we can, you know, touch.
Well, and so much of that, the Inception soundtrack is driven.
Actually, it's you know, funny enough, it's the one where I on purpose tried to do as little percussion, because I thought we sort of overdid it a bit, but you know, by the time you got through Dark Knight, you know, the whole drum thing. Plus everybody else is doing it, so you know, you think you got a style, and the next second you know everybody else has got that style, so you have to go and switch.
We'll talk about that. Talk about how much what you hear of others' work, and how you react off of that as you go to do your next project.
Part of the problem is when I write, I can't listen to anybody else's music because it drives me crazy, because it doesn't even matter if it's a great piece of music I'm listening to, even if it's not a great, just the fact that they managed to finish it somehow is
really annoying.
Really annoying, right? You know, but no, of course you hear things, but it's mainly the stuff in my head I'm sort of hunting down. You know,
sure.
You know, well, look, Johnny Marr on Inception. I mean, I heard a sound in my head for 3 days which I couldn't identify, and then it was, oh, it's Johnny Marr, right? And you know that so. But it took me 3 days to figure out where
that's coming from.
I wasn't even sure if it was guitar.
Right.
You know, but I knew what it, you know.
Sure.
You know, it's like when you can't remember names, that sort of thing.